Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Zain. I'm a second year medical student at the University of Manchester, and in today's video I'm going to show you the 6 steps in the journey of trying to remember everything, or at least most of everything that you study. Right, let's think about how you learn. What's the sort of stuff that happens in your life that you will never forget? Tragedy, your childhood, your first love. These are the things that get stamped inside your mind, right? We all had a favorite movie as well. Mine was Lion King. And I can guarantee that if anyone asks me anything about it, I will remember 90% of that movie. Did I need to memorize that as a kid? No. So what's the connection between those strong memories and my favorite movie? They're all stories. Stories that trigger feelings and emotions. Theoretically, studying about something doesn't do anything. We forget it easily. There's no masala, there's no substance to remember it. So number 1, anything that you study, don't just take it as theory. Use the concept and associate it with yourself. This especially works with harder concepts that you read about and then find difficult to remember. It's how I still remember the whole immune system front to back. I imagine myself being the tiny virus molecule that infects the body. All the armies of neutrophils and leukocytes gathering around me, the blood vessel that I'm in becoming more permeable, and I attach emotions to the journey as well, like feeling scared or overwhelmed, fighting those natural defenses. Obviously, I simplified it more in my head, but doing this simplifies the whole concept for you into one story and makes it way easier to remember. You can do the same with physics and chem too. Imagine yourself being the atom in some sort of concept that you're learning, or imagine riding the taxi with that atom. Number 2, take that visualization to the next level. Now, what do you study day in and day out? It's not chemistry, it's not your textbook, it's words. It's words and numbers. But when you have to memorize them, there's one common issue that comes up. Let me explain. Here's a list of words that I want you to memorize right now. Go. Take a minute, pause the video, and go. Now, try naming as many of them as you can remember. And if you do this properly, what you'll see is that you won't be able to remember more than 4 to 6 of them. But if I show you images of those words, like so, you'll see that you'll be able to remember up to 8 to 9 of them. Compared to that 4 to 6, what does that tell us? That our brains work on a visual basis. Simple. If you can't picture a word, then you won't be able to understand it. And if you don't understand it, then you won't be able to remember it. The way I've learned to take advantage of this is by associating everything I read with images. I started neuroanatomy last week. It was brand new. I have no idea what the tiny structures look like, what they do. But whenever I get confused, I always go to diagrams or images or 3D animations that help me picture the meninges, the hemispheres, the lobes, what they look like. Only once I can picture the layers and structures in my head am I able to understand it and then eventually remember it. Now, this doesn't mean that when I create a story and then learn to picture it, I'm going to remember everything I read. No, this is just a baseline for how you should look at information and think about it. Step 3, create questions while learning. Creating questions while I read or listen to a lecture is the one thing that I think is so underrated when it comes to remember things and allows me to remember much more than anyone else. Yes, I use these questions for later testing, but even before that, I realized that the act of simply creating them is something that helps me retain the information for much longer. That's because it forces me to be active with my reading, be critical with it. Every few sentences, I'm thinking, what's important here? What are the take-home messages? What's worth testing myself on? And I end up concentrating for much longer as well, because I can't just sit there and passively copy things off the board or just listen to the lecture. I'm engaging and trying to understand as much as I can so I can make good quality questions for myself. So yeah, convert the stuff you read into questions. May take a bit longer, but guaranteed it'll improve your understanding and allow you to remember a lot more. The magic of flowcharts and tables. When the things we're learning aren't separate conceptual facts, but they're more of a step-by-step process, then it's best to use a visual form to represent the information. Flowcharts. The only reason I remember all the parts and the factors of the blood coagulation cascade is because my friend sat me down and drew a flowchart of both the extrinsic and intrinsic pathways. And when I had to explain it back to my PBL group, I remembered it perfectly. Just from that one time of looking at those flowcharts. That's what shocked me. That's the power of these visual ways of representing information. I was able to connect the dots and picture the process in my head a lot faster compared to just, reading 10 to 15 steps in my textbook of the cascade. It's the same with tables, because once you can look at the information and imagine where it fits in which part of the table, you'll be able to just easily remember it because it's all in one specific page. Sleep means you'll memorize automatically. When it comes to sleep, most of us just roll our eyes and shrug it off because you know what? As a student, we know it's important, but we've lived off very few hours of sleep. We function well, so why waste all that extra few hours when we could be putting that time into study? The only thing is that if you are ignoring sleep, you're ignoring the easiest way to naturally remember the things you study. Your brain doesn't die when when you sleep. It comes alive. Even if you memorize things in the day, it's all useless if you don't sleep. Sleep provides the optimal conditions for you to consolidate all the things that you've gathered, all the information that you've gathered in the day, and then link it up with all your previous knowledge. In fact, when I looked into this, I found out that our brain transitions between 3 types of sleep in the 7 to 9 hours: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. The first part of the night is heavier with deep sleep cycles, and the second part of the night is heavier with light sleep and REM sleep cycles. Let me quickly explain how this relates to remembering stuff. Deep sleep is when we save and store all the information we receive in the day, and if you don't put that information into little file slots in your head, then you'll be basically throwing it in the trash. So if you sleep late, then you aren't storing anything, and hence you'll just remember less. Light sleep is when you clear all the extra information out of your head so you can make space for new stuff for the next day. And because light sleep cycles are heavier in the second half of the night, if you wake up too early, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., then your brain isn't getting enough time to get rid of the extra information in your head, and hence you'll still be full. So you'll be able to take in a lot less the next day. And lastly, REM sleep is when you allow all the new information in your head to make connections with this previous stuff in your head. It's when true understanding and encoding occurs. So as you can see, deep sleep is when we save the information, light sleep is when you throw it out, all the extra stuff, and REM sleep is when we understand the information. All of them being vital, and if you lose even a few hours of sleep in a night, then you'll either have to restudy half the things that you learned the day before, or you'll have to put 6 times the effort to remember the things that you have to study today. No thanks. Routine exercise actually produces new brain cells in the area of the brain that is responsible for our memory, the hippocampus. It not only makes that area bigger, but also improves long-term collection of facts. And you may be asking, since when can a quick cardio session help me remember the renin-angiotensin system? But the thing is, it can. You can test it out for yourself. For me at least, after I'm sat down for a long time, when my brain is starting to get a little foggy, I take that 5 minutes break and I do a few push-ups, or I walk around at least wherever I'm sitting, and that quick recharge allows me to come back a lot stronger. The study that I read suggested that you do the exercise before or during the studying, not afterwards. It doesn't have that much of an effect otherwise. Remembering most of the things we study the first time round is very doable, but if you want to improve your ability to efficiently encode and understand things, then check this video out. It's a detailed breakdown of the way I learn information and go through text, how I process information better from my working to long-term memory, and how I absorb it much more efficiently than most. Check it out if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this has helped, and I'll see you in the next one.